Howdy, folks, and welcome to another day in the Milky Way. And tonight we got a great show for you with my co-host David Null, Hawkeye Two Feathers. Thank you for being here tonight.
Greetings and blessings to all y'all good folk out there. A little late this evening. Had to charge the cell phone. We welcome you and greet you with the love and the honor of the great creator. And we hope you enjoy the show and learn something from us. And dang, my beard's getting long.
Absolutely. Tonight we're going to be talking about the Susquehannocks.
The who?
Susquehannocks.
The Susquehanna?
Yeah, the Susquehannocks.
Okay, I'm sorry. My ears have got some, it's squashy.
Yeah, they lived on the Susquehanna River, that area.
Where's that?
It's over in Pennsylvania, New York area, right on the border with the. I got a map.
I'm playing the devil's advocate. I'm not necessarily picking on you. Did you know your face is really dark?
Yeah, I know. It's this new studio, and I'm trying to get the lighting right, and
just curious.
Yeah, no, I kind of know what I'm doing, but I'm trying.
So how your new digs working out?
The new digs are pretty good. I'm just trying to adjust the lighting, see if I
that's better. That
here,
right there is good.
Then
that's good.
It's good.
That's good. Yeah. Don't move nothing. That's good. That's almost too much.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, I've been trying to adjust these things. And maybe if
too much puts a glare on your face.
Yeah, that better?
See, that's more natural right there. That looks good.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have my green screen in back, so I'm doing it with the other thing, and you got to get the lighting just right, otherwise it doesn't work.
Yeah. Well, it looks good.
Let me shut that one off. That's still pretty good. I don't know.
Yeah, turn it back on.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, that lights your face just right.
Just right. All righty. And we got a bunch of people in chat. I want to say hello to Off the Hook, Jackie J, Scotty Boy, Esley, and Elderberry. Thank you for being here tonight. Susie Q, Lori Elderkin. Yep. Anyway, we're getting a house full. They're pouring in left and right.
Scotty. Howdy, everybody.
Yep. I'm glad to see you all. And like I said, the Susquehannocks. They are an extinct tribe. They went extinct, and tonight we're going to talk a little bit about them with a little bit of information that I could actually round up. And they lived in this little area here. They were a big, huge tribe at one time, competing with the Iroquois and the Senecas. But something happened, and they got destroyed and lost the war. And there is Trina. Hey, Trina, thank you for being here tonight. It's nice to see you. And what happened is they went from a big tribe, they lost a war, things went badly, and they shrank till they became extinct.
Okay, I got to be a pain in the neck. What war?
Well, they had a war with the Iroquois.
Okay. When?
When? Yes, that's what we're going to get to. We're gonna.
See, all righty. I'm playing the devil's advocate, because I'm like, all right, I'm very interested, but so they were fighting the Iroquois, huh?
Yes. Yes.
Was that back in the Great Iroquois War that we talked about in the past?
Well, the Iroquois, were taking over that area, and they were, all those tribes were competing for small sections along the coast because that was the best land. I think is because you could go fishing, in the ocean. You had lots of animals there, and behind them was the Appalachian Mountains. And so that was the best lands. And once the white man came in, he pushed all these people around, and pushed them back up into the rivers and the mountains and areas like that. Well, the Susquehannocks were on the Susquehanna River there in New York and Pennsylvania. And let's see. So what does it say? It says the Susquehannocks, the Iroquois, and they spoke Iroquois, kind of speaking North American. They lived in towns along the Susquehanna River in what is now New York and Pennsylvania. They made treaties with William Penn, who established Pennsylvania, and they were very peaceful with those people till the tribes started all warring. Little is known about them, and which is true because all the books I have, I cannot find any mention of the Susquehanna Indians in that area. Huh?
About what year, please? I've not heard of.
They were prominent in the 1500s. And
okay.
As far as we know, and as the story goes here, they were first described by John Smith. He became friends with the Susquehannocks.
Is that's the John Smith? That's the John Smith of Pocahontas.
Yes, the same
okay.
one.
Am I being a pain in the neck?
No. Good for asking the question. It's this guy here. This guy right here. Like that. Yeah, this guy. This is your John Smith. Remember, we talked about him.
Yeah. I wanted to make sure it was the same guy is all.
Absolutely. He is the same guy. And if we can pull up a map here, we shrink down that. We got a map. As these people were moving in to this area, you can see this. This is the white man had explored and mapped this out, and they were colonizing these areas, but mostly along the coast as they landed.
It's a really small map to me. Is that Long Island right there? Where you got your cursor? That's Long Island.
This is New York right here. Yeah.
Yeah.
New
okay.
York, Long Island.
Right I'm just trying to get a reference. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Anyway, so if anybody's out there can recognize this, but as you go through here, you can see that once you get past, maybe 100 miles in, now all of a sudden there's no roads, no towns, no nothing. And of course, you're into Pennsylvania here, and that's where the Susquehannocks were in Pennsylvania, all the way down to Maryland here. So they had this territory. And they were getting pushed back into that. See, Susquehannock Indian Fort right there.
Well, what mountains are right through there?
These mountains. This is the Susquehanna River here, and then behind there, you remember this is the Appalachian Mountains.
Right. Okay. All right, but all right. Never mind.
So like I said. The white men came in and they were pushing all the Indians back, which made the Indians war against each other. And of course, you got Pennsylvania here. And then, of course, over here, you got New York. And who inhabits New York? The Iroquois inhabit New York, and they were warring. Now, like I said, they had this little area here. Now, at one point in time, the tribe was huge. And let's see if I can get that back up. The tribe was very huge. No, that's the wrong one. Too many things I put up. Okay, let's get back to this. The tribe was huge. They had been divided into several sub-tribes and clans, etc. And as they went, John Smith, who was an explorer, he was in the Chesapeake Bay in 1608. Through the historical period, they were at war with the Iroquois, like I said, who conquered them in 1676. That's 100 years before we signed our Constitution of independence, And they forced them to settle near Oneida, the Oneida tribe. We know that's farther inland. They were later allowed to return to their former territory along the Susquehanna River.
Wait. They were allowed?
Yeah, they kind of made after the white man got, as far as I can understand from all the readings I did, was that what happened was is they were beaten and they were chased out of their country, and then no other Indian tribes wanted to take them in either. So they made peace with the Iroquois, and the Iroquois let them come back. And they
Okay.
let them settle along the Susquehanna River again. Now remember, there wasn't many of them that were left.
Right.
Epidemics reduced their numbers, estimated have been about 5,000 in 1600. And as farther I read back, they numbered in the 10 to 20,000. And
Oh,
before
wow.
that, in the 1500s, they were a very powerful tribe. But
Can I
so,
interject something here? God,
yeah,
I
go ahead.
can't imagine 15,000 people dying and just that would be like bodies just strewn across the land, and
Well, no, well,
tribes and
yeah, but
you
you
know
got to remember this was over a period of 50, 60 years or so with all the
oh
epidemics
so
going.
it wasn't like within a year.
No, 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 no.
Okay,
So
all right.
so
But
after,
still, that's still a lot of people though to die. But all right,
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sorry.
As I read of that earlier in their history in the 1500s, their tribe numbered in the 15 to 20,000. But with all the epidemics that were going through, and with the wars they had, like it says here 5,000 people in 1600. And okay, so in 1763, many of the remaining Susquehannocks were massacred by the whites. They were kind of mistaken. They were really friendly with the whites, and what happened was is they ended up fighting. Other tribes would fight, and the white man couldn't tell the difference. Who was who. You know what I'm saying? Because that's how they do it. And of course, here's this is what they would have lived in. They built these long houses. And the Susquehannocks, they're called the people of the Muddy River.
And
They're
listen, did you tell me that they didn't know who they were attacking?
who? What do you mean? Who? Oh, the white man. Yeah, the white man just sees Indian
Okay,
and
so and I'm going to call BS on that one
like that.
because they knew who was where. They had
Yeah.
scouts that went out. They had fur trappers that were going, and they knew which tribes were where. I'm sorry, I don't believe that part of the narrative. But go on.
No, I
Now,
mean,
I think they believed that no, and any Indian, the only good Indian is a dead Indian. I would believe that.
yes, and I
I'm
think
so,
from what I
well,
read, I
I'm
think
sorry. Go ahead.
what happened is that some Indians got in trouble and they wanted those Indians, and of course that started because the Susquehannocks were very they were how should I say, they were very friendly with the whites, and they were and the Europeans and whatever for a long, long, long time. But something happened, and then they started fighting, and then the next thing you know, they were the enemy. And maybe we
I
can get it,
got you.
and you know how that goes. Oh, one Indian kills one guy, and that ain't the one I want. One
Or
guy, and the next.
somebody might have counted coup or something, and it ticked off the white guys. And back then it didn't take much to tick some of them people off.
Yes. Okay. So this is what Benjamin Franklin had to say. The universal concern of the neighboring white people on hearing of this event and the lamentations of younger Indians when they returned and saw the desolation and the butchered, half burned bodies of their murdered parents and the relations cannot well be expressed. And of course, this was the time when Pontiac was starting to uprise, and all these other Indians were starting to uprise because they were being encroached by um, the white man. And of
Right.
course, the Susquehannocks went from being a big tribe, they were being forced into smaller areas, and then what happened? I got to show you this map. So the white man decided to make an area called the Constantinople Manor, and they put
Zoom
the
that in a
Indian.
little closer, please. Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay, so what happened is all the Indians, basically this was an Indian reservation. It was an Indian town here, right? And this was before they really figured out reservations. So there was white people close by, and the Indians had a big village here, and so forth and so on. Okay, but there was many different tribes. The Susquehannocks were down to just a few people, like 30 or 40 at this point.
What?
Okay.
How many acres does that? I'm looking at my cell phone with a very small screen, so forgive me
Six,
for asking, but
16,
how many acres does that say?
16,000 acres.
Wow.
So you got, or 60,000, 100, yeah, 16,000 acres.
It looks like
Anyway,
160,000. Or
no, yeah, 160,000. It doesn't matter. It's a big chunk of land here.
yeah, okay.
So basically, this has become your Indian reservation. So there was all kinds of Indians that went there. The Shawnees, pretty much the leftovers of all these tribes were put on this area in this what they call an Indian town. Okay,
So this is when the 1600s then?
1700s.
1700s. Okay.
I think.
All right. Right.
Oh,
Benjamin Franklin.
yeah. Okay. Okay. So what happened was the Susquehannock descendants numbered more than 400 in the early. Okay, they've been massacred by the whites of flame accounts of the Indian War. Okay, that ain't the one I'm looking for. I'm looking for this one. I think there's too many of these. You keep asking questions. I keep trying to get to the thing that I want to get to.
I'm sorry.
Oh, that's all right. Okay,
Inquiring minds want to know, though.
so we're back to this one, and you have that's wrong. Shrink, and enlarge. Anyway, so we got this here. The residents of the frontier were sympathetic to the actions of the Paxton boys. However, no prosecutions were undertaken. Or is it the other one first? I can't remember. I should have numbered these. Dang it. No, it's got to be this one. Got too many of these up. Okay. So the Paxton Boys uprising. So now they're in Constantinople. They're basically known as the Susquehanna Constantinople Indians, right? There was an uprising attack in 1763 by Pennsylvania frontiersmen upon an Indian settlement during Pontiac's Indian uprising and the subsequent events related to the attack. On December 14, 1763, about 57 drunken settlers from Paxton, Pennsylvania, slaughtered 20 innocent and defenseless Susquehannock Indians near Lancaster, Pennsylvania, whom they suspected of convenience with, with the other Native Americans who had been pillaging and scalping. See, that's what I was saying. They seen an Indian and said, "Yep, must have been them. Let's get them," and so they did.
We're gonna make them pay.
Yeah, I mean they did it out west too.
We're gonna make them pay. Yep.
Custer would attack villages and say, "Oh, look, there's some Indians. Let's go, get them." And those could have been friendly Indians. And it happened many times. So the governor John Penn, upon issuing proclamations ordering the local magistrates to arrest and try those men involved in the massacre and attack of. This one was the one here.
Did you say arrest them?
Yeah. So the governor said to go arrest these people. And they didn't, or they did, I don't know. Since the residents were sympathetic to the actions of Paxton Boys, however, no prosecutions were undertaken, besides revealing the bias of the frontiersmen against Native Americans. Paxton Boys uprising also took on a political tone. Residents of Pennsylvania backcountry were already embittered over the eastern countries disappropriation control over the colony's legislature and the failure of the Eastern dominated legislature to provide adequate appropriations for the defense of the frontier. Consequently, sparking by the events surrounding the Paxton Boys massacre, the Constantinople massacre. About 600 armed frontiersmen marched on Philadelphia in 1764 in January to vent their anger against the provincial assembly. A delegation of prominent Philadelphians, including Benjamin Franklin, met with the protesters, restrained them from entering the city, promising them that the legislature would provide a thorough hearing on the complaints. The assembly offered no redress for the protesters' main grievances, though the colony's promontory party publicized the incident to their advantage in the campaigning during the election of 1764. Well, then they went. Then I guess I got the wrong one, and then they went out and massacred these people because of this. These people were pissed, and then they're going to go get vengeance anyway. So we're going to shrink this. We're going to enlarge that, and then we got the Constantinople massacre. The Constantinople Indians, in the original, largely the survivors of the defeated ancient Susquehannas or Minnequas of Iroquois stock, located their village variously on these lands in the Penn promontory manor of Constantinople. Chiefly west of this point, they were visited here in 1701 by William Penn, who made treaties with them. The tribe was exterminated. And so there you go.
That's a very accurate and to the point. They were exterminated.
Yes. And like I said,
there's no wishy-washy about that. They must have been limited in words on that plaque. They were exterminated.
Yes. Like I said, they lived on the Susquehanna River and they got chased off. Basically, this is what I know. They got chased off. They came back. They made peace with the Iroquois because there's only a few of them by this time, And then they settled in this town of Constantinople. And they were known as the Constantinople Indians on this land that was given to them kind of to live. And then when the settlers got mad, they took their frustrations out on these Indians that were there. They didn't care who they were. Now, if you want to
right, understood. But I mean, on the plaque, it didn't mince the words like they weren't at war or, they lost a battle. No, they were exterminated, period.
Yes, they were.
So, which I gotta say, whoever put that on the plaque, I'm glad they did, because, in some ways, in some places, as we have talked about, they try to cover up what the truth was. And so on that plaque is very clear, exterminated.
Yes.
Like roaches, like, Berman, exterminated. Okay.
And I guess they were a pretty tough Indian. People of the Muddy River, their big thing, they pretty much went downhill. And by 1763, they were pretty much no more. See if I can get some more. Maybe if I do this. Yeah, so anyway, so here you got a Susquehanna woman. She's out been hunting. And that's kind of what they would look like. I'm trying to give you here's their housing. And this is a longhouse. We know what a longhouse is. We talked about it many times.
Yeah, well, that looks like a really nice one, by the way, if that's a true picture.
It's a model. They lived there,
right?
Of course,
but I mean the
families.
Design.
Yeah, and then they also built palisades around their villages to keep them from being destroyed, which is this picture here that I was trying to show you earlier. They did build like forts, walls around. Like I said, they had good techniques on defense and attacks and things like that. I mean, maybe that's why they got to be so prominent,
But they couldn't beat the gun.
No, they couldn't beat the gun, and they couldn't beat the diseases. And what was happening a lot is like the Iroquois and some of these other tribes, they had teamed up with the French and the British. As we know, the Iroquois, they teamed up with the British, and a lot of these other tribes teamed up with the French, right? And what would happen is, they're fighting the Americans, the new colonies, and then they're fighting themselves because they ain't looking at themselves like, hey, we're all Indians, we got to stick together. They're looking at it as, oh, the Susquehanna are our enemies. They beat us in a lot of wars. I got guns. I got these new guns I got from the British. I'm going to go down there and kill off my enemy. You know what I'm saying? And then they don't think about it. Well, now you just eliminated your enemy. And here's another village. You eliminated your enemy, but you just reduced the number of your population. And then what happens is then the British come in, or the French come in, or whoever it is, and then they take you out. It's
right. They didn't look at, when they took out those native folks as their enemy, then the overall native population couldn't fight back, because then half of us are gone and we just helped do it,
But yeah, and they didn't seem to comprehend things like that.
They didn't see the bigger picture, right?
That's right.
They did not comprehend the bigger picture, which was us Indians need to stick together no matter what. That's what they should have realized. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yes, well, they were fighting, just another tribe, and they didn't realize that I guess it would have been really hard to think about the Europeans coming in by the boatload and not being able to understand that they're not stopping. They're like multiplying. You kill 2 or 3, or they would, they were saying that the Indians were on a rampage there, and they killed like 1,000 settlers. And I'm thinking, okay, you killed 1,000 settlers, but 10,000 people came over on boats. You know what I'm saying? And then you sit there thinking, well, I won the war. Yeah, you won this battle. You killed a few people and you terrorized everybody, but they're just going to keep coming. They're not going to stop.
They couldn't think globally, because they did not know. They said, well, the big boats come in on the ocean, but they didn't know what was on the other side of the ocean. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They had no concept of the globalness and how many white people was on the other side of that pond.
They're here in this little area. I mean, they're not realizing how big this is either. They're just knowing that because, the mountains are here, the Appalachian Mountains go all the way down to almost to Florida here. So this whole thing is kind of blocked off for the Indians. You got to climb the mountains to get to the other side. So this is your world right here. And then there's this ocean that you can't cross. And then these white men keep coming and coming and coming and coming. And like I said, here's your next map that says, hey, look at this. This is where the white men are settling. Now you're blocked off. You have no access to the sea. And your rivers are blocked off, because if you start sailing down here, you're going to hit a town, and all the men are going to come out with their guns and say, Indian, and got it. What do you think they're going to do? Accept them here? Come on in, you're here to trade and then go home.
Yeah, and by 1760, 1750, especially with Ben Franklin had been back and forth to France several times.
Yes.
So the amount of people and the amount of ships that were coming over by that time, and especially that area where Long Island is and the rivers and so forth. Now, I've never been there, but, with Long Island and the harbor and everything, the perfect place, to bring in ships and so forth. And so there's going to be sailors and people and all kinds of trading going on and new settlers.
Yes, absolutely.
And literally by the boatload.
Yes,
because what was going on in England and France and so forth over there, they wanted out of Europe.
Yeah, they were moving. People were moving out of Europe.
1814. In 1814, we took a little trip down to Mississippi. Colonel Jackson down the mighty Mississippi. Yeah, took a little bacon and we took a little beans and we fought the bloody British in the town of New Orleans. I know that song. We fired our guns and the British kept a coming. It wasn't as many as there was a while ago. Fired once more and the British kept a coming. Down in Mississippi
to the Gulf of Mexico. Johnny
Horton. You go.
There you go. Exactly. But anyway, that's the thing. They were
they were dead by 1814, but
yes, yeah. But I'm just saying is the Indians teamed up with the other countries and not realizing that the Americans were going to be the new country, and they were thinking that if they teamed up with the British or the French, that they would push the Americans out or corral them or something, and then give them their land back. And that was not the case, because if you buddied up with you buddied up with the French, and the French are all good with you. And then all of a sudden one day you hear, the French just sold all their land to the colonies with the Louisiana Purchase.
Back that up. But see, what was going on, and I agree with you, but what was going on was before 1776 and the war between, the colonists and England. So it was just starting to build. In 1763. It was just before the Continental Congress and just before, I guess it would be before the Boston Tea Party too.
Yeah.
But anyway, but in saying that, so that was sort of what was going on. We got all these new people coming in, but at the same time, the British are like walking around and the colonists are going, hey, hang on, So, and there kept being more colonists as the boats kept coming over.
Yeah, so, And Scotty Boy is right. They weren't known as American. They were still Englishmen because they were ruled by the British yet until we declared our independence. The king was still making choices. We were the British, really.
Right. But, and it was and I imagine being a colonist. So you came over on the boat. And you were trying to get away from the flipping king, right? So that's when you wanted to go to the new country, to get away from that sucker, and what was going on and all the fealty and stuff. And so here's a new chance, right? So they get over there, and then the British are trying to be the same way. Mm-hmm. I think that these people, as soon as they stepped off the boat, were colonists. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because their heart was already in this new land. They had come all this way, sacrificed everything to get there, and they were not going to put up with the king. Now, the ones that came over to start a business, and they sort of had English backing back home, and they were, what I mean.
Yeah.
And them folks were a little bit more loyal to the English. Guess why? Because they had ties back there. They came over to do business in the colonies, where the common man came over to get away from the king, and they were ready to stand up. So I just want to point that out.
There was also an agenda with the king shipping people over here too. I found that out while researching the Susquehannock Indians, is that they would ship over Irish and Scottish peoples and send them out to the frontier, to establish farms and land and say, here, we're going to give you a bunch of land on the frontier area, right? Why would they do that? Because they're Scottish and they're Irish, and the English didn't care about them as much, but they knew that the English or the Scottish and the Irish were good fighters, and so they put them out on the outskirts in a plan, in a weird plan, because they knew if we put these people that we don't like out on the far edges, they will fight the Indians for us. Ain't that something?
Oh yeah, they weren't stupid. No,
no, I mean,
hey,
it was really well planned. I mean, think about it. Hey, we're going to get rid of those Irish and a lot of the Scottish. We'll put them out on the edge. They'll fight for us because they want to keep their farms. They'll fight the Indians, and they'll kill some off, and then this and that, and we don't have to go out there and fight them because they're already fighting. It's all good.
Well, and not only that, but so they send these guys out into the into the wilderness. Okay, so they have to depending on where they at, they got to clear the land, they got to build a farm, and so of course they're very industrious and so forth. So they clear some land, build a farm, start making it productive. So the Indians come in and kill them. Oh, we'll just send. Well, there's already a farm there. We'll send somebody else out, unless it gets burned down. But but also though that at least there was a farm and there was land that was cleared. So to the big guys like the folks who try to rule us now, that was a good plan. Well, they can always build another cabin. That means they'll clear some more trees and they'll plant a bigger farm. And in the meantime, maybe they'll kill off some more Indians. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they didn't care. They just threw bodies at it,
Right.
And throw some more people want to go. Hey, you want to go? There's free land over there. And you go
and
there.
It might be that the reason that land is so clear is the family that was there before got slaughtered by the Indians.
Yeah. Well, and that, I mean, I was reading about that, and as like we talked about a couple weeks ago, they were saying that the settlers were moving in, and it was easy because the land was already cleared. And as we discussed, the Indians had been farming that land. It was already clear, and they were saying, hey, look, good farmland. This is great. Here's a forest. We can build our house out of that wood, and here's a big field. We can grow our crops. Why not kick the Indians out?
Yeah, and we could move into their village and already have a fort around us.
And that's what they did. They did that. That was,
I know. That's my point.
Yes, they did. They took over a lot of Indian villages and kicked the Indians out or killed them off and took the fort from the Indians, and they didn't have to do the work.
That's right.
I didn't realize. I read about that when I was researching the Susquehannocks, and I'm thinking, wow, we were bad.
I mean, but at that time it was directions by the king.
Well, it was, and we had superior firepower. We got guns, and they got arrows and spears, and I mean, you don't want to be. I'm sure they realize after a short period of time, you don't want to be in front of that gun when somebody pulls the trigger.
Some of them, yeah. But also, you said something. Mentioned superior. So the white man just felt he was superior at all times.
Yes.
Whether he was or not, but you know what I mean. That attitude. And and the Native Americans, the native folks, guess what? They're just trying to protect their assets and their asses.
They did, and that's what they wanted. And the thing is the only difference between the English coming over, we had superior weapons. We had swords, and we had metal arrow tips, and we had the metal knives and all of the guns and the gunpowder. And the Indians, they didn't have any of that, and that gave the white man a extreme advantage, because a woman, you put a gun in a woman's hand and she can shoot just as good as a man in some ways. I mean, you wouldn't know the difference of her shooting and a guy shooting. That's all I'm saying. Whereas if you were an Indian, you got a man who's, shooting his bow and arrow and he's good at it. And the woman, she's taking the kids and running for the hills. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and if any of you ever watched an old Daniel Boone that was back in the day, Daniel Boone's, when he got home and Becky was in the cabin or whatever, if there was somebody around, she had that gun out. She took care of herself. And the children, by the time they got up a certain height, they knew how to clean and load a firearm. Well, so exactly. It's like, at 6 years old, Johnny's in there, here, mama, here, I just reloaded the gun for you, and kaplow. So, this idea that, them pioneers, they were brave, they were sturdy folks, or they were dead,
Well, yeah. And Scotty Boy says in some ways, yeah, but the gun was a great equalizer. Because it could turn that woman into a deadly force against a bunch of natives with bows and spears, whereas here you put the lady there with a gun and it makes no difference. And she can put it through a little porthole in their cabin and kill you dead over there, where the Indian, he's got to have some room to throw his spear or shoot his arrow or his tomahawk or something,
Yeah, if they're shooting out a window, that arrow is going to be pretty dang accurate to get. It's a big old cabin, but they got to try to hit the person that's hiding behind that window. So yeah, the advantage, of course, but I think a lot of times. And there's been some movies and westerns and old timey, like, watching the old Daniel Boone series from back in the day. How they'd go out and they'd run from one town to another, and how they did business, and how they went out and trapped, and how they came home, and they'd be gone for a few days, but she was armed and ready.
Yeah.
So
yeah, exactly.
That's how it had to be. The man had to be gone a lot of times to go hunting or whatever. And so the woman, she had to know how to shoot a gun. But anyway, so them pioneer folks weren't near as chicken-hearted as some folks might think.
No. And the women could be, like I said, we had the superior weapons only because we had metal. We used metal, and they didn't have the metal. They had to get it from us. They didn't even if you gave the Indian guns, they still had to get the gunpowder from us.
Yep.
And
they had to get the shot.
Yes, and there was a difference because as we've talked about before, there was trade muskets, and then there was regular muskets. So the trade muskets were the ones you would give the Indians, and then the regular ones you'd keep for yourself, possibly because they shot a little farther. Maybe they were more powerful, but there was a thing called trade muskets, so that the Indian wouldn't have the advantage. Even though you're giving him a gun, he doesn't have the advantage. How bad is that?
Yep, and I think it had to do with how the flintlock system of how it set the gunpowder off. So if anybody's ever seen how those old guns went off, they went pow. They didn't go bang. They went pow. And a lot of times the flash that was there that made the explosion for the bullet, a lot of times it blew up in their faces if they didn't do it right. So by 1763 they were pretty much wiped out. Is that what you were
Yeah.
saying?
Yes. After the Constantinople, what you call it? They were down to like
Massacre.
20. The massacre, yeah. That was the last 20 of them. All the rest of them had dispersed from the tribe, and they're either intermingled with other tribes, never to be heard from again. And the last 20 of the tribe who were living there in Constantinople, they were then wiped out, and that was
As
the
a
end of it.
tribe. So, but we we might be able to quote safely say that some of them did migrate because of necessity into other tribes.
They did,
So
yeah.
in a slight way, they did live on. You know,
They did, yes.
in just a slight way. It's like, yeah, well, he married somebody from Ohio, and he moved over to Ohio, and became that part of the tribe. And the same thing with women. And I think that as the population goes down, I can only think of what it would have been like for a native woman, any woman, but a native woman who's like, the family's gone. My husband went out and he got killed in battle, and my child died from a cholera or disease or something, and she's still alive and kicking. But so she's going to go to another tribe if she can find them.
Yeah.
And so I'm just saying that, you go from how many, 40,000 or something down to 40 or 20. Some folks disappeared into other tribes, I would bet. But still.
Yeah, and a lot of, like I said, a lot of them died off. Then there was a big war with the Iroquois. And after that, they finally got defeated. I don't know how many they lost at that point. But then at that point, they left their Susquehanna River area and went over to the Oneidas over there and stayed with them for a while, but they weren't very welcomed. And then they went and made peace with the Iroquois. And like I said, they made peace, came back to their, but by this time, more epidemics had hit, and they went, there was probably, 500-600 of them. And then eventually they got moved to that small area where there's 20 some, and they got massacred along with a bunch of other Indians too. They weren't the only ones there. And like I said, other Indians were doing things, and the settlers were mad, and they were vigilantes and said, look, here's some Indians, we're gonna get rid of them, they're causing us too much trouble.
It must have been a real bitch to live back in them days.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I have thought about, and I feel like in a previous life I was a pioneer. And, I'm sort of a pioneer living down here in the swamp kind of thing. But as we go through these things and go back through the years and reminisce of what it was like, and there's a gun right there, for example. And oh, by the way, my brother Dennis, he builds those kind of guns for people. But anyway, but the idea when you see something like that, and it's a muzzle loader, and how you got to do the rod, you got to pack it with this, and you got to have the gunpowder, and you got to pour it in, and you got to, so. And back in them days, those flintlocks were really crude. They got better with the Kentucky rifle and everything when they got closer to 1814, and then they got better, and then there was the Civil War, and then they got better still, and then they got revolving kind of and then it sort of went to bullets too, but back in them days, it was really crude. And so no matter who you were, you had to know how that firearm worked, and you had to keep it clean. A little bit of dirt. Yeah, can you zoom into one of those?
I can't zoom in, but this is the best I can get.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like
I
I
thought,
said, even this one here, it says it's Sitting Bull's 1876 Parker Field flintlock musket. So even Sitting Bull in its 1876 was still using a flintlock gun. I
yeah,
mean, that is so backwards. I mean, considering in 1876 they had the cartridges and they had
yep.
caps and balls and you know what I mean. So they had
They had
guns.
bullets. They had, the favorite was like the 44.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yet here's Sitting Bull, and he's carrying around a whole flintlock gun yet. The technology, they weren't getting the technology, and it gave the white man the big advantage.
Well,
So,
can let me interject this. Think about, there was a lot of gun trading as if you ever watched an
mhm,
old Western, there's some couple of white guys that are, selling guns to the Indians. Well, but here's the thing. Think about this. After the Civil War, look how many guns were north and south during the Civil War.
yeah,
So now after the war is over, what happens? So there's a lot of guns because of dead people. Okay. And so somebody probably thought it was a cool idea to collect them all up and go somewhere and sell them. Well, since the people in the East were dead, we're best to take them, but to the West and make a deal with the Indians, you
yeah,
know? And so where did the guns come from? They was the Civil War. They were
yeah,
leftover relics. And so Sitting Bull had a gun that was probably, some northerner or southerner used it, and southerners, because they were so poor and they were still mad at the northerners, and the northerners were the ones that were, the army. And so they felt like they could sell, the Indians are the underdogs, just like we were, you know.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a good picture. I wish you could get that a little bigger.
I I cannot.
That's
All right.
okay, but just look at the mechanism there.
Yeah, you got a
And
piece of flint right there, and you put your powder in there, and that strikes and sets off your bullet that you put in the barrel, through a little
and if
hole
it
there.
right, and if it doesn't strike that flint just right,
Yep,
well then it's a misfire.
yep.
And then if you put too much powder in that little spot, it'll blow up in your face.
Well, yeah, and if the powder gets wet, well, it ain't gonna fire either. So there's a lot of things that have to, work together in order to make that thing work right. And it
Yep.
ain't like you're gonna fire that thing real fast.
No, and think about this. If they were on a horse and kind of running around with something like that, you'd have to try to pack the powder into that spot up there where the flintlock is.
Yeah,
So, you're riding around, so you're only going to load it once.
yeah,
And then you're going to have to get off your horse to put another ball in the down the barrel. You're going to have to pack it with, the packing in the gunpowder in the barrel, and you're going to have to put that little bit of gunpowder right up there at the top. So,
yeah.
you're going to shoot once if you're on a horse, and then that's it.
Yeah, this is kind of funny. So we were showing all the Native American guns. They're all flintlocks and they're all, old like this. Here's the native gun, right? But then here's our tribute gun to the Native Americans. And it's a Winchester, 30-30 Winchester. It's like the Indians didn't carry these around.
No,
You
hell
know,
no.
they
They
didn't have
stole them.
these. Yeah, they might have stole some or had a few, but they were hunting or they were basically, like you said, here's Sitting Bull and he's got his gun and it's still a flintlock. He's out there using his flintlock in 1876. He's got his gun all decorated up or whatever or something, but it's not a, let's see here, Little Bighorn Relic sells at auction. And it's what? This one's a cap. This one's a percussion. This has got a cap in it. So this is real modern one, compared to what some of those guys are using.
Well, see,
But,
that's what happened during the Civil War. They left the flintlock and went to the cap.
yes, exactly. But I'm
So,
saying is
also with the capped one, they also bored. What's it called? They put rifling in the bore of the barrel, which made
yes,
the shot be more true. And so, the Southerners had to get so close to shoot at them, and they'd sit up on the hill and laugh, and they'd take out their new guns, them cap guns, and that had the rifled barrels and could shoot them out for 100 yards further. And the rebels were like, "What?" So that was one of the turning points of the Civil War, was when the North got the new rifles.
Exactly, the Henry rifle there. Anyway, so here you got here's a native gun that's with a cartridge, and you can see they carved stuffing on the brass. Like I said, they don't Sitting Bull. Here's his he did have a Winchester. Look he did have a Winchester he used. Major H. Let's see. I wish I could get this bigger. Famous Indian chief Sitting Bull surrendered this model 66 Winchester to Major David H. Brotherton at Fort Buford. I was there. August 20th, 1881. Many Indian warriors used repeating rifles in the Plains Indian War of 1870. But they still were using the flintlocks too.
Yeah, but you said that other one was 1878 or something.
76.
So
yeah.
By that time, he could have picked up a repeating rifle.
Yeah, because he's surrendering this one in 1881, and this one here was 1876. The gun he was using. So he had umpteen years to get 5-6 years. Well, by that time the flintlock guns were probably all done out. They had so many of these, and it's like having cassette tapes and records, and now we have DVDs and CDs. Who has a record or a cassette tape anymore, right?
Yeah, but they were still guns, and despite it was better to be able to get off one good shot, especially if you could do it at a distance, like if you're bushwhacking somebody.
Well, like I said, when it comes down to it, eventually you're going to get an opportunity to get one of those new guns. Just like, I had records for the longest time. Then I got some cassettes, and it seemed like the cassettes were there and gone, and then we're already into CDs, and I think the cassettes were kind of short-lived in a way.
Oh no, I have lots of cassettes I still listen to.
Well, so do I.
I've got a whole library of cassettes, and a really good cassette deck too.
But I'm just saying is that the time for the cassettes was very short compared to. You may still have some, but buying them and having them make them. I remember there was records. All of a sudden, we got cassette tapes, and within 10 years, we got DVDs now and CDs. It's like,
oh yeah, man! Look how short-lived the 4-track and 8-track were.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. But records started out in the the 20s, and they were around for 40 years or 50 years before
they're still around.
Well, and they're still around. I'm just saying is that you don't go to the store and find a cassette anywhere anymore. It was there.
No, I was talking about records.
Yeah, but records you still find a record. So there you go.
You can't find cassettes anymore?
Good luck. Buying new ones. You could find them at garage sales and stuff, but good luck of finding a used one.
Well, what about blank?
New ones.
What about blank cassettes? I haven't tried to purchase any recently. So next time I'm in Walmart, I'll have to go look.
You have to go look.
No, I've got a 4-track recorder.
Yep.
And it uses cassette tapes. And I'm trying to get back upstairs. I had a friend of mine here today. I'm off topic, I know, but clean my upstairs, and I want to get back into doing the recording and stuff I used to do. So, but anyway, I need cassette tapes though to go in in that 4-track. So, but anyway,
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. Let's see. I have a few records. Oh yeah, Scotty Boys has records too. Permanent record. Yeah, I got records too. But it's not that kind of record, Scotty. Oh, I get what he's saying. Permanent record. Okay. Anyway, enough of my babbling. What do you got for us tonight?
oh, I thought I interrupted again.
No. I'm done talking about my part. It's time for yours. We got like I said, we did. Like I said, the poor Indians, they went extinct. I think, like I said, they were powerful. They had some bad times, and then they just dwindled down to nothing. But that happened with all the tribes, and some survived and some didn't.
Yeah, it's sort of like the Irish during the potato famine and stuff like that. There were clans that disappeared,
Yeah.
and they were very similar to tribes, and I don't know enough to be able to speak about it, other than that I know that there were clans, and it decimated the population, and so at the same time they were coming over here, trying to make a better life, unaware of the bigger plan, if you know what I mean, as we were talking about before.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the interesting thing is that after all these years, all these different clans and
Mm-hmm.
tribes have melted into America,
Yeah.
and up in the Appalachians, there are still clan-like folk, that live up there in the hollers and so forth, all along the Appalachian. There are German folks, there are Dutch folks, and they all have in their own little neighborhoods, they have their own little traditions. Like in North Georgia, they have the Oktoberfest. And, Helen, Georgia is all dressed up and looks like a little German town in the Alps. And it's beautiful up there. But talk about a tourist trap. But to the point, though, so all of these places have their own neighborhood stuff. Cultures, that's what the word I was thinking about. So, which I think is a good thing. We all live together in America, but we can still, because going up, I haven't been up there in a few years, but I used to go up there 2 or 3 times a year and go camping and stuff. And we'd go into town and all and partake, and it's a gold town up there. And, but the idea of being able to participate in something that a different culture, I grew up in Tampa, Florida, and we had, in February, they always had the festival with I'm trying to think of the pirate thing, and Jose Gaspar, and everybody shows up, and it's a big party for 2 weeks, and so that's you celebrate a pirate, yeah, well, why not, so, but in different places, people celebrate different things for whatever the reason. It might be a peach festival or something like that. But people get together and share their cultures. And I think that's a good thing for America. And, we're going into, Christmas time here. And there are different folks that, traveling around and seeing over the years, there are different towns that have different kinds of Christmas festivals. And some people do, well, I don't know, I don't want to Christmas time and all bah humbug, and I don't believe in Santa Claus. Okay. But there are a lot of people that share a lot of things all through the year. But Christmas time, I just want to put out a note. If you want to share a little culture, take a look around and see what's going on. Not only at Christmas time, but different times of the year. and see what you never know what you might miss. You might find something, like, for example, and I'll shut up in a minute. Um, for example, somebody turned me, they were Russian, and I was like, what the hell? And it was pierogies. And
Oh
if you
yeah, I love pierogies. Yeah.
Oh my God! If you, I mean, when you have a showing up to me, a Russian pierogi, and I had it in Seattle, Washington, of all places, down on the wharf where they bring in all the stuff, in the ocean right there, where the original Skid Row was. But there's this little restaurant that makes these things, and people are lined up down the street. And I was like, well, what the hell is a Russian pierogi? What the? Oh my God. I went back and stood in line for another one. But so if you don't try somebody else's stuff, you'll never know. You might just fall in love. What? But it's Russian. So what? It was good. So
Well,
you might go somewhere and somebody's speaking German, but they've got something, that they have made, or, that's just absolutely delicious. Or so, try out other cultures and see what's around for Christmas time. Okay, I'm done.
when I was younger, the town I was in, they had Polish days, and you'd go up there, and they had galumpkies and pierogies, and sauerkraut and brats, and all of those good things that you would, Polish dinner type
Yeah.
things, and boy, I tell you, the cabbage rolls, you do that cabbage roll, and they take that, what I'm talking about.
Oh
Roll
yeah, because
it, and they
my grandmother was, who I've talked about before, but my grandmother was German, kind of sort of German Polish, and oh man, there were certain dishes that they cooked that just, sauerkraut and mashed potatoes, yum yum.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Well, anyway, what do we got tonight?
All
What
right,
do
our
we got?
our story for tonight, my dear friends, is the young woman and thunder. And I'm not even going to try to pronounce these names.
Oh no.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no. Oh, no. But I will. There's Flint Maker, Good Ear, Red Hot. Oops. Oh, dang it. Net Maker, Thunder, and Chickadee. Ooh. So let me get a drink and we'll start the story. And I hope that I didn't talk too much and interrupt you. My apologies. Sometimes I get like this. But I really was concerned. Okay, here we go with the story. One day, a stranger went into a cabin where a man and his wife and 4 children lived, and asked to marry the youngest daughter of the family. The father and mother consented, and the stranger married the girl. After a time, he asked his wife to go home with him. Her parents were willing, and the two started. They hadn't gone far when they came to a cabin, and the young man said, "This is my home." There was nobody in the cabin when the husband and the wife came, but toward night the woman heard someone coming on the run. Soon a man came in and sat down by the door. Again she heard running. Another man came in and sat down. Then a third man came. The 3 men began talking with one another, relating how far they had traveled and what they had killed. One said, "I had good luck. I killed a bear." Finding that he was the only one who had killed anything, the 2 said, "Go and bring the bear. We'll cook it." The young woman sat at the opposite end of the room watching. She saw the man bring in what he called a bear, saw that it was the trunk and head of a man's body. The men cut it up and put it in the kettle to boil. When cooked, they ate it. The three walked back and forth in the room without looking toward the woman. Her husband was there, but he didn't talk or eat with the men. They were his brothers, but he never ate their kind of food. Each morning, the three brothers went to hunt for game. In the evening, they came back and sitting down near the door, talked over their journey. Then, if they had killed any game, they brought it into the cabin, cooked it, and ate it. If they had no game, they ate what was left from the meal of the previous evening. One day, when the young woman went for water, she found a man standing by the spring. The man said to her, "I have come to tell you that tomorrow your husband is going into the ground. As soon as he goes to put some of your spittle exactly in the center of the cabin and tell it to answer for you every time your husband speaks. When you have done that, hurry to this place." The next morning, the young man said to his wife, "I am going into the ground and I want you to stay in the cabin all the time I am away." He turned around and right where he stood, he disappeared. After doing as she had been told, the woman went to the spring. The stranger was there. Taking an arrow, he put the woman into the head of it and saying, "When the arrow falls, jump out and hurry along the lake as fast as you can." He shot the arrow into the air. The husband called to his wife, "Are you there?" "I am here," answered the spittle. After a time, he called again, "Are you there?" "I am here," was the answer. The man was away a number of days, and he often asked, "Are you there?" and always received the same answer. When he came above ground and asked, "Where are you, wife?" and her voice answered, "I am here." He looked around, but didn't see her. Then he found what had been talking to him. He was terribly angry and right away began to hunt for the woman's tracks. He found them and followed them to the spring, but there they disappeared. He hunted a long time and then, getting discouraged, he called his dog, Goodear, and said, "You didn't take care of my wife while I was gone. Now you must find her." The man watched the dog. It ran around and came back to the spring. Then it stopped, hunting on the ground. Looking up in the air, sniffed and ran toward the north, looking up all the time as if it saw tracks. The man followed the dog. After a while, the two came to where the arrow fell. Then there were tracks on the ground. The dog barked and began to run faster, the man urging it on. When they were about to overtake the woman, the stranger who had been at the spring stood in front of her. Putting her into an arrow, he said, "You will come down on an island in the lake. Run across the island in every direction. I will be there." When the man and the dog came to where the woman met the stranger, they lost her tracks. Again, the dog ran around smelling the ground, then looking up in the air, he saw a trail and followed it. When Goodear and his master came to the lake, the man changed to a flea and went into the hair behind the dog's ear. The dog swam to the island. The flea became a man, and the two traveled on till they came to where the arrow fell. There they found the woman's tracks and followed them across and around the island. When they were overtaking the woman, the stranger stood in front of her and, putting her into an arrow, said, "You will come down on the shore of the lake. Run as fast as you can. I can do nothing more for you, but you will soon come to a village, and there you will find someone to help you. Now you may know who I am." As the stranger turned to go, the woman saw that he was Chickadee. When the dog came to where the tracks disappeared on the ground, he saw the trail in the air and knew that the woman had crossed the lake. Again, the man turned to a flea and hid in the dog's hair. The dog swam to the shore. The flea became a man, and the two followed the woman's footprints. When her husband was so near that the woman could hear the dog bark, she came to a house. A man was sitting inside making arrowheads. The man was Flint Maker. When the woman asked him to help her, he said, "I will do what I can, but hurry along. The man in the next house will help you." When the dog came, Flint Maker threw a handful of arrowheads at him. Wherever the arrowheads struck, they tore up the trees and the ground, but the dog dodged them all, ran at Flint Maker, caught him by the throat, and shook him till he was dead. At the second house, the woman found a man making nets. This man was Net Maker. The woman said to him, "I am running away from a bad man. I want you to help me." "I will do what I can," said Net Maker, "but hurry on. You will soon come to a house. The people who live there will help you." When the dog and the man came, Net Maker threw out a net. It caught the two and wound around and around them. For a long time they struggled to free themselves. At last the dog broke through the net, ran at Net Maker, caught him by the throat, and shook him till he was dead. In the third house, the woman found 4 brothers. When she asked them for help, they went out and, chopping down dry trees, piled them on her tracks. When they had a high pile, they set it on fire, and standing 2 at each side of the pile, they waited. The dog and the man came to the fire. The dog wanted to go around, but the man saw that the tracks led into the fire, and he said, "No, you must go through." The dog sprang into the fire, and the man followed. When they came out on the other side, both dog and man were almost dead. The eldest of the 4 brothers said, "We will shoot them." They shot, but arrows had no effect. Then the old man said, "We must catch them, kill them, and pull their hearts out." They caught the man and the dog, killed them, pulled out their hearts, and put the hearts in a red-hot kettle that the old man had heated over the fire. The hearts flew around and around, trying to get out of the kettle, but the brothers pushed them down and shot at them till they were dead and burned to ashes. The old man, whose name was Red Hot, went to the house and told the woman she was safe. He said to her, "You must rest 4 days and then go home." When the 4th day came, Red Hot said, "It is time to go. Your home is in the south. As you travel, you will know where you are." The woman started. About midday, she met a stranger who said, "Towards night, you will find something to eat." She traveled till the sun went down, then came to a large stump and found there a pot of hulled corn cooked with bear meat. She thought, this must be what the man meant. She ate the hulled corn and meat and then went on till dark. That night she camped under a tree. The next morning the woman started out again. At midday she met the stranger, and he told her that she would soon find something to eat. Towards night she came to a stump and found there a pot of hulled corn and bear meat. The next morning when the woman woke up, the stranger was standing by her. He said, you are near your father's home, and I shall leave you now. I am the one whom men call Hino, thunder. The stranger disappeared, and the woman went on till she came in sight of an old house. Then she saw a spring, and right away she knew it was the spring where she used to get water. In the house she found her father and mother. They were glad to see her and said, Yahweh. The end.
Another good one. Another good one.
Nobody's head got cut off.
I noticed in a lot of these stories they eat a lot of bear meat. Don't you know? It seems like bear meat. They're always eating bear meat.
Yeah, that's true. And well, even today there's something about bear meat, and I'm like, yeah, okay. I don't know. I've been around bears. Went camping on the Buffalo River one time on an overnight stretch, way out in the wilderness. I mean, way out. And about 4:30 in the morning, I could hear that something was pushing against the tent, and I could hear this, and I was like, "Oh, holy crap!" And it was a brown bear, and wow. I mean, I looked up from where I was sleeping. His nose was pushing the tent in. I mean, literally could have kissed it. That it was that close. And it didn't bother us. There was no food in the tent. But one of the things that I thought about after the fact was next time when you're in the wilderness, don't eat a Reese's peanut butter cup before you go to bed. That bear could smell that peanut butter on my breath from up on top of the hill. Because he could have went anywhere, but he stuck his nose right over my head. And that later on, I was like, why did he put his head? I was like, oh, I ate that peanut butter, that Reese's cup. Holy crap. And they were talking about how strong a bear's nose is, which is true. And when I thought about the peanut butter, I was like, oh, man, I'll never do that again.
Peanut butter has a strong smell.
Yeah, and bears can smell 2 miles away and shit. I mean, they really got a schnozola on them. And but anyway, yeah, I mean, some people say, dang, that really did. Listen, I'm telling you that bear's nose was less than 5 inches from me. Yeah, it's literally, I'm sorry, but that's a true story.
Well, I know next time I go out west, I'm gonna to bear country. I'm gonna put one of those cameras up on a tree, jar of peanut butter out, and come back next day and see how many bear pictures I got. There you go.
Yeah, make sure you're far enough away from that peanut butter jar, though. Yes. I mean, seriously, I would be at least 200 or 300 yards away at least.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. But you know what I'm saying is that's a heck of a good idea. Oh yeah, Scotty boy went hunting bear in California. Nah,
well, I have hunted bear here in California and have to bring the head to your local ranger station.
It's the law, and the law was.
I fought the law, and the law was. I fought the law. I'm shuffling cards.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, Lucky's right. He said it was not a bear. It was a torso of a human with a human head. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Remember in the story, it was they said, "Well, I shot a bear," and then the guy said, "Hey, let's eat the bear," and he went and got it. It wasn't a bear; it was a human. And
Oh
but
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I'm
right.
just saying, it seems like they're always talking about eating bear. Even so, they're always, oh, a bear. Let's eat the
Well,
bear. Everything
and
bear.
a lot of the stories turned out that like the stone coats, the giants
Yeah.
who ate men. And that one story a little while back to where the one went out and, told them all you can't eat people anymore. And I think in one story, the one giant, I think, went vegetarian and because he quit eating meat and his brothers, I think he had to kill because they didn't. Remember
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. I do. I do. That was a pretty good. Yeah. 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 Stone coats are always chopping people's heads off and eating them.
And they're always and chopping them up and
Yeah.
eating them and putting them in a pot and boiling them. You
Hmm.
know,
There's always some
B505, I smell the blood of an Englishman. You ain't gonna believe this.
bear.
Nope.
Oh. Let me guess. Let me guess. I'm thinking. Let me guess.
Okay,
Uh,
I'm gonna look at the cards so you try to see if you can remote view me.
okay.
What am I looking at?
You're looking at uh something is in the ground. Badger.
Nope.
No.
On top of the ground.
Uh, Squirrel.
Where the deer and the
Oh, the
antelope
deer.
play.
A deer. A deer. There you go.
Actually, antelope.
Oh, antelope. Wow, we haven't had antelope in a long time.
And elk.
Ooh, elk.
And they're both straight up. Now, we haven't had elk in a long, long time either. And I can't remember the last time we did antelope. I mean,
Yeah. Oh,
that's
yeah, antelope.
a
Yeah,
long,
we haven't had antelope in a long time.
a
Uh,
long, long time. It's number 37 in the book, just for you number files. Oh my God, I went right to the page. Holy crap. Wow, that was weird. Whew. I mean, I literally just opened the book and there it was. Whoops. Hang on a second. I'm looking to see which one I should read first. Okay, just the way I pulled them. All right, antelope is action. All right, my dear friends, here we go. Here's the message for the day. Run, antelope, teach me of action and its pace. Quickly, quickly, so I may run with grace. When time was just beginning and the tribe of man was small, antelope saw that the two-leggeds were naked, hungry, and in danger of extinction. The ancestors would soon vanish from Mother Earth if action were not taken. Antelope took action and came into the camp, calling all the two-leggeds together for counsel. Great Mystery sent me to teach you a lesson. The lesson is to do. You have no need to be fearful if you know what to do, and then you do it, Antelope said. And what shall we do? Asked the people. If you are naked and cold, you should kill me and take my coat to keep you warm. It is my gift to you. Do it. We will, said the people. But what of our hunger? We are starving. What can we do to save ourselves? If you are hungry, you should kill me and take my flesh, for it will nourish you and make you strong. It is my gift to you and a part of my evolution. It is my service. Do it. Antelope knew that humankind would survive the Ice Age if the people learned to eat meat. Before the movement of the great ice mountains, fruit and vegetables had been plentiful, and the two-leggeds had no need to eat of the bodies of their fellow creatures. The clans of the second world ate antelope, taking the instinct and wisdom of the four-leggeds into their bodies. The people learned through each creature's essence how to survive. They were taught never to waste or to take more than they needed. When they were in need, the two-leggeds knew to take action. Humans learned antelope's lesson well. Because of antelope, humans took proper action and survived to this present day. Antelope taught humans to honor the gifts sent from the great mystery and to avoid indiscriminate destruction of life. Antelope signifies knowledgeable action. Antelope is a symbol for the antenna of your hair, which attaches you to the great mystery by its long cords of light. Looking at antelope, you may become aware of your mortality and the short time span you have on this planet. With this in mind, you must act accordingly. Proper action pleases the great mystery. Antelope medicine is the knowledge of life's circle. Knowing of death, antelope can truly live. Action is the key and the essence of living. Antelope powers have been courted and shamanized since the dawn of time. Antelope clans have been many, and the power of antelope people is great. Antelope medicine gives you strength of mind and heart and the ability to take quick and decisive action to get things accomplished. If you feel stymied, call on antelope medicine. If you are balled up and twisted in knots, antelope powers will speak to you if proper action and soon set you free. Many ingenious solutions to problems are whispered by antelope. Listen and more importantly, act. Surround yourself with illumination and secret knowledge of antelope. Combine this with action and you will overcome any obstacle or hindrance in your path. They want me to read that again. Combine this. Surround yourself with illumination, stay in the light, and secret knowledge of antelope. Combine this, the illumination, with action, and you will overcome any obstacle or hindrance in your path. If antelope is centering tree and strong personal medicine, thank the Great Spirit. Say what should be said. Your judgment is sound and your actions will be successful. Now, elk is stamina. So we just left action with antelope and elk stamina. So you can just think about that. So you've got action that you need to take. And here is elk walking into our cards saying, now we need to have stamina. Ain't that interesting? Elk, your antlers reach for the sun. Show me that strength and stamina are one. Elk wandered through the forest looking for a partner. The mating season was in full swing, and the bucks that usually traveled with the other males had dispensed to find mates for the season. As elk bellowed his mating call through the forest, his bugling alerted mountain lion. and lion thought that a feast could be in the making. Mountain lion circled elk, getting closer to his prey moment to moment. Elk sensed the impending danger when the forest grew suddenly silent. He broke for the high country when he spotted his pursuer. But Mountain Lion was far ahead. But Mountain Lion was far behind. As Elk made a running leap for the timberline, Mountain Lion gained on him. But Elk continued to run onward, displaying tremendous stamina. Finally, Mountain Lion gave up, having spent all his energy in spurts as he tried to jump over boulders to reach the elk. Elk paced himself, making headway as he climbed skyward towards the high country. Elk had no other defense except his ability to go the distance, setting a pace that allowed him to utilize his stamina and energy to the fullest. Elk medicine teaches that pacing yourself will increase your stamina. Elk medicine people may not be the first ones to arrive at a goal, but they always arrive without getting burned out. If you have taken on too much recently, it might be a good idea to look at how you plan to finish. To finish what you have started without ending up in the hospital. That's never fun. Elk have a curious kind of warrior energy because, except at mating time, they honor the company of their own gender. They call on the medicine of brotherhood or sisterhood. In discovering the strength which is gained from loving the gender that is your own, you will find the comradeship that arises from similarity of experience. This is a special medicine that allows the friendship of others of your same sex to overcome potential competition or jealousy. To overcome potential competition or jealousy, especially jealousy. We should not be jealous of our neighbors. If you have picked elk medicine, you may be telling yourself to seek the company of your own gender for a while. You may need a support group to realign yourself with the stamina of the warrior or warrioress energy that you are a part of. This communication with others of your own sex allows you to air your feelings in safety and to get feedback from others who have had the same experiences. You may need a new sense of community, communication, and unity. So the elk may be telling you to look at how you are holding up physically to the stresses of your life and to pace yourself so that you maintain an equilibrium of energy over the distance. Vitamins or high energy foods may be one solution, along with some personal quiet time for replenishment. And now with the Christmas coming on and the craziness of buying and rushing and doing, so yeah, Antelope is telling us to get up and take action. And Elk is saying, make sure you have enough stamina to go the distance. That's not bad information. I can't believe that I pulled two deer type. I'm trying to think of what, the four-legged with antlers. I can't believe I picked two cards of that same type.
Yep.
That's just interesting. Usually there's a bird or a frog or a dragonfly or something like that. But, two deer types.
Yep.
That's interesting.
Well, he was asking for an albino elk, but I can't find an albino. Never heard seen an Irish elk before.
I'm sure they exist, but I've never heard of an albino elk either.
No. If there was, I'd probably have a picture of it here somewhere. But I do not see an albino elk. None to be had. Oh, Irish elk were prehistoric creatures. That's what it is. These are big things, aren't they? Holy cow.
Yeah, up around Cades Cove in Tennessee, in the Smoky Mountains there, they reintroduced elk many years ago. I haven't been up there in quite a few years, but I had parked my truck on the side of the road that goes around Cades Cove, and had got out with my video camera at the time, and I'm looking out into the pasture, which was on my left-hand side, and the road is right behind me, and the woods, the mountain just goes, at about this kind of an angle. And, I'm looking around and the elk are coming. You can hear them honking and bugling. And I'm looking out in the field. Before you know it, this huge elk walks off of this mountain onto the road and 5 feet away from me and walks out into the field. I almost I was like, what? And because I had just looked there with like less than a minute before, and I didn't see no elk. This thing is 7 foot tall with his antlers, it was like you'd have thought I could have seen it, but just walked off of the mountain and out from the bushes, and it just boom, they were there. But anyway, very interesting critters, I'll tell you. I would hate for one of them to be mad at me. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
With them antlers and I would hate for one of them to be mad at me. That's what surprised me, that it walked like less than 10, well, maybe 10 feet from me, maybe.
Wow. Yeah, they're big. Yeah, you just stay out of their way and they stare out of yours.
And just in, we've talked about, the different things, and elk used to be plentiful up and down the Appalachians and a lot of other places too. But, to encounter one of them big puppies in nature, and that's what you're hunting, that after you kill it, that's a big son of a gun. You got to tote it 10 miles back to the house or something. Holy mackerel. But anyway, when you see critters like that, and it's like, the antelope offered its body, to the four two-leggeds and said, here, eat me and clothe yourself. But goodness gracious, antelope. I've seen antelope, and they don't seem to be as big as elk. You got antelope out your way, right?
Yes, we do. Oh yeah, Scotty boy did. He found a white antelope. Good for you, Scotty boy. Oh, for Chloe. I gotta show this.
Is it?
Anyway,
how big are the antelope? Are they real big or?
No, they're small. They're smaller than deer.
Really?
There's your white elk, rare albino elk. There you go.
Wow. It's not as big as the one on the right, just noticing, but look at the rack on that thing.
Yeah. Look at that. That's crazy. Ain't that cool? I never seen one like that before.
Yeah, well, see that big rack on that thing? That elk that walked out of the woods behind me, there were trees and bushes, and how that thing got through there without just getting tangled up and making a big noise, I was like, what? It's amazing, those big horns, what they can just how they get along.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah. When they're big like that, they know they're king of the forest almost. They ain't afraid of
Yeah,
nothing.
but there have been pictures of elk that when they get into wanting to fight each other, that they have locked horns and couldn't get unlocked
Yeah,
and died that way.
yeah,
So that'd be a hell of a way to go.
yeah. There's a lot of deer do that a lot too. So anyway, wow, cool beans. I'm re-
Oh,
I'm a
speaking of deer, the other night, me and Duggar walked up out the back a little bit behind my shed, and just took a couple of steps down the trail, and something said stop, and I did, and I looked out across, I don't know how many, maybe less than 100 yards, I'd say, but through the pine trees, and there was a deer standing there looking at me. And then she turned her head to the, let's see, to the her left, and then looked back at me and turned around and disappeared straight into the woods. And within a couple of seconds, I seen two other deer walk out down along there's a little ridge there. Uh, when it's real wet, it's like an island over there. But anyway, so two doe walked by and then a buck, and then they went on the way over to the property line. And I was so proud to walk back there and see that in my backyard, And then Duggar was like, "Wait a minute, did I miss something?" And he went over to where the buck had been standing. But anyway, speaking of deer and so forth,
It is like deer season. Like, oh, it was deer season. Deer season's over. Yeah, deer season's usually around Thanksgiving time out west, or but yeah.
we've got so many deer here in the state of Georgia that I think you can shoot 8 doe
Wow.
and 2 buck
Oh
in
wow.
1 year per person per hunter. So my
Well,
next door neighbors, many of them, who Sheila is.
yeah.
She got another big buck just the other day. Her husband stopped by to see me yesterday, and he said, "Man, that was a big old." Then you're trying to load it on the back of the damn truck. And that was a big old deer, But she loves her hunting.
Yeah. Well, and see, that's the thing too. Is if you got you're there's not many hunters anymore. Not like there used to be. When I was a
That's
kid,
true.
everybody was hunting, and now it's kind of like, yeah, whatever. And people don't want to process the meat themselves. I remember when I was a kid, my dad would put it all up. We'd sit there in the kitchen and he'd be chopping away and hanging the deer in the garage and all that. And not anymore. It's just he don't even hunt anymore. I mean, it's free meat out there pretty much. You got to pay
Yeah.
for the tag and all. But Scotty Boy says it's $40 there in Cali. I remember it was like 20 some odd
For a
dollars.
tag.
Yeah, but yeah, you get the tag, and then you got to go hunting. You got to have a gun. You got to have bullets. You got to have the orange clothes. You got to have a lot of. It's kind of expensive.
Well, see, I'm lucky in that I've got 19 acres, and my next door neighbors have 20 acres, and between us we have 40. And my neighbor over here on this side has got 20 acres, so between us we've got 60 acres we can hunt down along the river. And so, and because it's private property, we don't have to go through none of that nonsense. And for us down here, there ain't no orange vest. We're all decked out in camouflage, and we're hiding in the bushes, literally, or hanging from a tree somewhere. Or a lot of folks have blinds that sit on the ground, and you put that blind out so the deer get used to it, and then you go out there one day in the morning or evening or whatever and sit out there and keep an eye on what goes by. And luckily, I couldn't believe that there were 4 deer that close to the house, because the river is a good way back from where they were, a good 500 yards still back in to the river where the deer were. So I was surprised, you know. But that's good. I bought a 50-pound bag of deer corn that I'm going to go out down there and spread it out to help feed them deer. I don't hunt them, but like Ricky says, you know, he said we got to keep our deer fed because if we need them, they'll be well fed. And he's got a point, you know.
Yeah.
But keep them well fed. And you know, for the $15 for a 50-pound bag of deer corn. Okay, I'm going to go out and feed them probably tomorrow.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Sounds like fun.
Well, listen, my friends, you know, to kind of wrap up my side, and me and Robert are going to be leaving you here in a sec. But I just want to say that y'all have been wonderful people over the years, and not that I'm trying to, you know, sound all whoopee whoopee or whatever. But we really do thank you for hanging out with us. We really do. Robert and I have talked about it, you know, off screen kind of thing. And we really appreciate your coming and all this 100 and how many we're doing now?
105 or
105.
106. 106.
Yeah.
This is 106. Yeah.
And I was telling my friends tonight that I had to literally kick out of the house before we started. I said, you know, it is a blessing, you know, that every Tuesday night, me and Robert get together and get to share what we can. So, you know, we appreciate you. We really do. And thank you.
Yes, very much so. Very much. Very much. Because it's a lot of fun to get together here and share some knowledge, and hear the stories, and have you pull a card. And, you know, maybe it gets old for some people after a while, but, you know, we try to bring something new to the table every week, right?
Right. And, you know, I know at least there wasn't any head chopping this time. At least there wasn't any head chopping, you know, in the stories. Goodness gracious. But, you know, I know a lot of times, you know, we repeat ourselves and, you know, they were exterminated, you know, they were killed out, you know, and we keep saying those things, you know, about the Native American and so forth, but doggone it, it's the truth. And so as much as, you know, many of us would like to ignore it, one of my other next door neighbors came over this evening and we were chatting and he said, you know, my great grandmother was full blood Creek Cherokee. My grandfather was half. My grandmother was half, and so was her husband. Or so he goes, I did not realize it until the other day. And he said, I am, you know, Cherokee Creek. And but he's been living as a white man all this time, but he's been coming and visiting me, and I've been filling his head full of nonsense, reading stories and stuff, you know, and I pulled a couple of cards the other night, and he said, man, it just hit him. And he didn't ask me to pull them. I was like, you know, I think you need this card. And it happened to be Swan, which is, you know, a really good card, and it's gentleness, you know. No. Anyway. So when but the thing is that, oh, holy cow, you know, when people realize, you know, by talking about something and pulling cards or discussing things, that they realize, you know, he said, you know, I hadn't really realized what I had Native American background and how much important it is to me. And he said, listening to you and some other people, he said, I am Cherokee Creek and I want to go to a powwow. And I was like, wow. And I've known this guy for years now, you know? So I just, you know, you never know when somebody's going to have an aha moment. You never know when the old stories are going to come and affect somebody, and you don't know how it's going to affect them once they have that aha moment. So, I hope that we keep doing what we're doing. And for folks that may listen to us and they might have an aha moment.
Yeah. There's always those aha moments. And,
Yep.
that's the thing. Even if we affect just one person, that's all that matters.
Right.
Yes. But you got a show tonight?
Yep. Going to do a show tonight. Yep.
All right. Good deal. I know a lot of people are looking forward to that.
Yeah. So anybody out there, what time is it? Well, give me 15 minutes. Let me go TT and get something to drink, and I'll be back.
All right. Well, with that, I hope you all join me on Saturday night. And we're going to be talking more about the Christmas season to come up and why are we doing it and what about them three wise men. And so remember, make this a great week. Go out and do something nice for yourself, something nice for your neighbor. Remember that you want to be that frequency. You want to receive, everyone. Love you all. Peace, everybody.
Cheers.